All right, this is the last example in section 8.4. What we're going to be looking at in this part is repeating decimals. So these are the decimals that they go on infinitely, but they have a pattern that's contained in there. So what we're going to be doing here is writing a repeating decimal as a fraction in simplest form. So we're going to take these fractions that we're getting, or these decimals, and writing them as a fraction of integers. So let's look at this example here. So we've got 0.242424 dot 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 dot. Now the first thing we need to do is identify the part that's repeating. So this could be one number, two numbers, three numbers. We're looking for the pattern that's repeating. So in this case, it's 0.24. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to write this as a repeating decimal as an infinite geometric series. The way that we do this is we take the part that's repeating, so in this case 0.24, and we take that out. So we're going to write this fraction as a sum. So this is going to be a series, so we're going to be adding the repeating parts together. So what we're going to do right here is we're going to take 0.24, so this is our first part. Now, if we broke 0.24 off and put it here, we could just keep adding these different parts of our repeating decimal together, and we get the same thing. So we're not breaking this up. We're just writing this as the sum of these separate parts that are repeating. That's our first step. We're writing this as an infinite sum. So if we took 0.24 and added it to 0.0024, we would just get 0.2424. That's a point right there. 0.2424. Now if we took this next part and added it right here, see we've got 4 decimal places and then 2 4. So we get that right here. So again, all we're doing is we're breaking up our repeating decimal and we're just writing it as a sum of the repeating parts with zeros at the part that we took out in the first step. So don't let this confuse you. When you get to start and you do your questions, always come back and look at this page to see how we broke up our decimals. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we need to look at this and see how we can transform this into an infinite geometric series. Well, if we look at this, our first sum right here is 0.24. So what we're going to do is we need to find our ratio. So our ratio, remember, our ratio is just our second term divided by our first term. And this is the case when you have a repeating sum, a repeating decimal, it's always going to be geometric. So all you have to do is take your second term and divide it by its first term. Now go ahead, you can use a calculator and figure out what this is. This is just, in this case, it's 0.01. Remember, A1 is just our first term, so it's the portion that's repeating, and R is just your second term divided by your first term. Now this is going to be different in each case because the portion that's repeating is going to be different. So now we just need to go ahead and take this and plug it into our repeating sum, infinite sum formula. So here we have A1 over 1 minus R. So let's go ahead and take A1 over 1 minus R and plug it in. So we get 0.24 over 1 minus 0.01. Let's go ahead and combine these. We get 0.24 over 99. Now, we want to write this in simplest form. Simplest form does not include decimals like this. Let's go ahead and write this with integers on top and bottom. So what we have to do here, all we can do to turn this into integers is we can just move our decimal over 2 spots. So we can just move our decimal over from 0.24 to 24 and from 99 or 0.99 to 99. So we get 24 over 99. So it's a quotient of integers. Now, let's go ahead and do this again. We can simplify this. So we see if these have any common numbers that we can factor out, and we go ahead and get 8 over 33. We can take 3 out of both of them. So this right here would be our simplest form. So 8 over 33. If you went ahead and plugged this into a calculator, you would get the repeating decimal, 0.242424. So this is how you do this. Again, all of the work is spread out here. If you have any questions, you can come back here and look at it. I'm going to do another one really quickly with you guys, just so you see. Now this isn't going to take that long. We're going to go through it kind of quickly, so you have both of these to look at. So let's see right here. The first thing we have is we want to go ahead and turn this into a series. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to take the part that repeats. Since this is just the same number repeating over and over again, we can just turn this into the sum of each digit plus the next digit. So if we took out 0.7, we would just be left with 0.077. Now in this one, we would go ahead and take out the 7. We'd be left with 0 and then 2 more zeros and then 7. So you see this just repeats. Each time we're taking out one digit, and this just goes on. And we've turned this into our geometric series. Again, go back to the previous example and you're just taking out the repeated part. So the next thing we do is we want to go ahead and figure out what A1 and R is. So to figure out what A1 is, we just take our first term. So A1 equals 0.7. That's our first term. And we go ahead and figure out what R is. R is just 0.07 over 0.7. This is our R value right here. And again, R is just the first term or second term divided by the first term. Now, when we go ahead and do this, when we actually go ahead and use your calculator and figure that out, we get 0.1. Okay, that's just 0.7 divided by 0.07 divided by 0.7. So now we've got our R value and we've got A1. So we just go ahead and plug this in. Now remember, our formula is just A1 divided by 1 minus R. That's our sum formula. So when we go ahead and calculate this, we get A1, which is 0.7, over 1 minus R, which is 1 minus 0.1. When we go ahead and simplify this, we get 0.7 divided by 0.9. Now this is really simple. To go ahead and simplify this, we just need to move our decimal point over 1 unit, so we'll get 7 over 9. Remember, that's what we always want to have. We always want to have our fraction in integer form. So whatever that takes, however many spots you need to move your decimal over, that's what you need to get to have your answer. Now, what we're going to do here, and remember, you can always go back and look at this and the previous example when you're doing your next problems. So come back and look at this and you'll see exactly how to do this. All of the examples you're going to do are exactly like this. So remember what timestamp we're at and come back and watch this however many times you need. So the problems you're going to do right now, I want you to look at problems 6, 7, and 8. You're going to go ahead and write 6, 7, and 8 in the same text box. You're going to go ahead and simplify all of these repeating decimals. And you're going to put them in integer form. They're going to be fraction with just integers, no decimals. So go ahead and do this right now. Now, you're going to go ahead and do this in the first text box that comes up. And I've got one last task for you to do after this. So go ahead, calculate your answers in the text box, and then when you're done, unpause the video real quick, and I've got one last thing for you to do. Alright, the last thing I need you to do is I've got a website that I want you to go visit. I want to get some feedback from you about the answer or the work that you just did right now. So the website that I need you to go to, it is, so you're going to type in tiny, let me go ahead and move this real quick. Sorry, it's going to be tiny URL. Hold on, let me go here. Hold on, let me go back to the video. I'm not sure why this is changing. So let me go ahead and draw this for you. It's going to be tiny, so TINY, and then URL, so tinyurl.com, and then you're going to do a backslash, and it's going to be my last name, Racer, and then a dash, Racer, and then it's going to be actually Racer, and then 8-4. Okay, sorry that I took a little bit to get to that, but this right here is a hyphen, not an equal sign. So remember, a hyphen, not an equal sign. So Racer 8-4, tinyurl.com /Racer 8-4. I want you to go there and just fill out a couple pieces of information I need. Thank you.